Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. Balasubramaniam, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Zoology, Government First Year College and PG Center, Chintamani. Today, we are going to see the topic migration birds, and this is the third semester B.Sc Zoology syllabus of the Bangalore North University. Now, what is migration? See, the word migration has come from the Latin word migrare, which means going from one place to another. So here, what's happening? The organism moves from place to place in search of so many factors, like for example, maybe in search of food, or in search of the good environmental conditions, or maybe the mating partners, or for the breeding grounds. Okay, so from feeding to the breeding grounds, or from the vice versa. So this migration is common, particularly in the birds as well as fishes. So there is a sort of internal biological clock which regulates the phenomena. So migration is controlled by the internal biological clock which regulates the migration. See, according to L. Thompson, 1926, defines bird migration may be described as the changes of habitat periodically, recurring and alternating in direction, which tend to secure optimum environmental conditions at all the times. See, what is a migration? Changes in the habitat, changes in the place, changes in the dwelling place periodically, time and again, recurring means and again, alternating direction, which tends to secure optimum environmental conditions at all the times. Optimum environmental conditions means the organism must live in the conducive conditions, or the organisms must live in the proper environmental conditions. So I mean to say, maybe the food conditions, or the weather conditions, or the predator-free environment, such and so forth are the parameters which are involved in the migration at all times. Further, bird migration is more or less regular, extensive movements between breeding regions and their wintering regions. So it is a regular process. Sometimes the birds migrate from the Arctic pole to the Antarctic pole, and from the east to the west. So here, this if the birds start migrating, so this is continuous process. It keeps on migrating from place to place. So here there are 8 migratory bird flyways. See here, first one is the Pacific Americas. Here, so here the direction, it goes in this direction. So it is going from the South America to the almost North America. This is the one type of migratory flyway. So the birds from the South America move to the North America. Central America, so that means in the central portion of the region, that is the South America and North America, the birds keep on moving, recurring periodically, time and again, so they keep on migrating from place to place. Further, Atlantic Americas. So here the Atlantic Ocean is there, so that is next to the Atlantic Ocean. Here the birds keep on migrating from place to place. So this is the Atlantic migration. Further, East Atlantic region. See, East Atlantic region shown in yellow. So here, so this is the African continent. So East African continent to the Atlantic region. So the birds moving from this place to that place, and again from that place to this place. So that is the moving from the Africa to the Atlantic region. Further, Black Sea Mediterranean region. So from Africa to the Mediterranean region, and from Mediterranean region to the African. Mediterranean region, it refers to the Mediterranean Sea. Here, these birds are keeping migrating. Further, East Asia to the East Africa. So here, what is happening? East Asia, somewhere East Asia to the East Africa. So keeps the birds migrating from these directions. Then Central Asia, almost in Central Asia, so India, India to the almost China and China back to the India. So this is Central Asia migratory routes. Then East Asia, Australasia. East Asia, Australasia. So East Asia from this region to Australia. So like that, so many types of migratory routes are there for the birds. So here, all birds do not migrate. So here, some specific birds keeps on migrating, and all birds are not migrating. But all species are subject to periodical movements of varying extent. The birds which live in the northern part of the hemisphere have greatest migratory power. So this is the concepts. Further, migration may be latitudinal, longitudinal, altitudinal or vertical, partial, total, vagrant or irregular, seasonal, diurnal and nocturnal. You see one by one. Latitudinal migration. Latitudinal migration refers to migration involving the movement from north to the south and vice versa. Most of the birds live in the land masses of northern temperate and subarctic zones where they get facilities for nesting and feeding during summer. They move towards south during the winter. So during the summer, so nesting and feeding take place, and further they move towards the south during the winter. So here the climatic conditions play a very important role in the latitudinal migration. That means movement of the birds from the north to the south and south to the north. This is the latitudinal migration. Longitudinal migration, here the birds migrates from east to the west and vice versa. East to the west and vice versa. So here one bird named starling, resident of East Europe and West Asia, migrate to the Atlantic coast, while California gulls, residents and breed of Utah, migrate westward to winter in Pacific coast. So that means the movement of the birds from the east to the west and west to the east. That is the longitudinal migration. Altitudinal migration refer to the migration of birds to the mountain peaks to the lowlands during the winter. So during summer they go above the mountains or mountain peaks during the summer and lowlands during the winter. So there is the altitudinal migration or vertical migration. So here the birds moving from the plains to the mountain peaks and from mountain peaks to the plains. That is the ground surface or the plain surfaces or the sea level. Partial migration. See, partial migration here, some members of the birds do not take part in migration. This only few members are take part in the migration. So in a given population of birds, all birds do not migrate. Only some birds migrate and some birds do not migrate. So that is a partial migration. Total migration. Here all the members of the species take part in the migration. It is called total migration. Further, vagrant or irregular migration. So some birds migrate to a short or long distance for safety and food. It is called vagrant or irregular migration. Herons may be a best example of vagrant and irregular migration. Other examples are stork and spotted eagle and bee eater. Further, seasonal migration. Seasonal migration refer to the birds migrating during the different seasons of the year for food or breeding. Examples, cuckoos, shifts and swallows, etc. They migrate to the north during summer, and these birds are called summer visitors. Again, some birds they migrate from north to the south during winter. They are called winter visitors. So seasonal migrators. Further, diurnal and nocturnal migration. So diurnal migration, many birds like crows, robins, swallows, hawks, jays, bluebirds, pelicans, cranes, geese migrate during daytime for food. Nocturnal birds Some small-sized birds, like the passerine groups, sparrows or warbles, migrate in darkness, called nocturnal birds. The darkness of the night gives them protection from the enemies. So these are the various types of migration. See, you can see here the different types of the bird species keep on migrating from place to place. Maybe north to the south, or south to the north, east to the west, west to the east, ground level to the peak level, mountain peaks, and mountain peak back to the ground level. So like that, seasonal migrations and irregular migrations, partial migrations and nocturnal migrations and diurnal migrations. Say migration of these birds, causes for migration of birds. So there are so many causes for migration of birds. So here some of the factors which are influence the factors which are influencing the migration. First is instinct and gonadal changes. Now here the gonads development forces the animals to move from place to place. So that is the gonadal changes, the changes in the gonads, particularly the hormonal levels, particularly the estrogen and progesterone. So then instinct refers to the innate character. So the birds have the innate property to migrate from place to place. Second factor for migration is obviously the scarcity of food and the day length. So scarcity of food in a region and shortening of daylight and increase of cold are believed to stimulate migration. Of course, any organism requires the food, and the fall in the day length is believed to produce endocrinal changes which initiate the bird migration. Further, photoperiodism, the increase in the day length induce the bird migration. So here, particularly in the summer seasons, the day length is long or more, so that may induce the bird's migration. The day length affects the pituitary and pineal glands and also cause the growth of gonads, which secrete the sex hormones that are the stimulus for migration. In India, Siberian crane, geese, swan, those come from Central Asia, Himalayas, begin and return from March onwards with the increase of the day length. So from the Himalayas, they come to the land when there is an increase in the day length. Further, seasonal migrations. Here, the north to south migrations of birds take place under stimulus from the internal conditions of gonads which are affected by seasonal variations. So this is the another factor. So seasonal variations, that is the winter and the climatic summer, these main two things regulate the migration. Then light is another important factor which initiates the migration. Further, there are many theories regarding migration in birds. So many theories regarding the birds. What are the many theories? Out of them, Earth magnetic field as a guiding factor. Earth magnetic field as a guiding factor. So here, the Earth is supposed to have the magnetic sense. So, is the magnetic sense able to give some indications to the birds, that is a north to the south pole. So it gives some evidence to the birds, and therefore the birds are able to migrate. So Earth magnetic field, the north pole and the south pole, or the vice versa, this is a force which induces the bird migration. Then second factor, the sun as the guiding agent in the diurnal migration. Sun is another factor which induce the migration. Now, here, one person, Gustav Kramer in Germany and Matthews of England, they did extensive experiments on pigeons, so which have the internal clock on which the birds use the sun for setting their migratory course. So here the sun is the main force for migration. Further, stars as the guiding agent in the nocturnal migration. So the warblers and the other birds orient themselves during navigation by sun during the daytime, but other birds may navigate mainly at the night time. So here, these birds they use the stars as their what you call the guiding agent during migration, particularly in the nocturnal migration. Then another factor or the theory behind the migration is the internal clock mechanism. The internal clock mechanism refers to the birds having the internal biological clock. So it is the regulated by the hormonal changes and the pineal gland and the other hormones which disturb or which influence the bird migration. Further, here we saw now what is the definition of migration and what are the types of migration and what are the causes for migration and the theories behind migration. Finally, what are the disadvantages of bird migration? See, there are so many disadvantages during migration in the case of the birds. One such example here, the birds keep on migrating from days together or months together, so there is the exhaustion of strength due to flight and also certain weakness, so the birds may lose their life. That is the main disadvantage. So they move from place to place. Sometimes they may have the food or sometimes they don't have the food. So the migration involves a lot of expenditure of energy because there is the activity of the muscles and the energy is involved there, and therefore these birds lose their strength and some sort of weakness is observed in the birds, and therefore they get died. They lose their lives. So the second reason is many young birds are not able to migrate. Many young birds are not able to migrate because of their nature, because of their tender age. They cannot migrate during a long durations. So therefore, the young birds may also lose their life. So therefore, these young birds may not able to reach the destination because they die during the course of continuous and tiresome journey. Further, sudden changes in the climatic conditions such as storms and hurricanes, strong currents of winds and fogs may be the causes of death of the sizable number of migrants. So we know the natural climatic conditions may be not same all through the year. Maybe sometimes there is a storms and hurricanes which may force the birds to or drift the birds to place. So nothing cannot be done. Nothing can be done under the natural forces. So therefore, the birds may lose their lives. But there are some man-made high towers and lighthouses may cause the death of the migratory birds. So they may have the electric shocks. So therefore, the birds during the night time, so they may not be able to see the towers, and accidentally they strike these type of lighthouses or high towers, and it may lead to the death. And many times, man themselves are responsible for the death of the migrants. So here, the man shoot these birds just for his own leisure and amusements. So we know man is one of the greatest enemies with respect to the other animals. So So one such thing that man keeps on hunting them for his food or pleasure or amusement. Maybe the reasons, so many reasons. So therefore, supposing if the birds damage the crops, so therefore the farmer gets wild and he just kills them. So like that, there's so many reasons. Man is one factor which may, so to say, the cause the damage to the birds. So these are the some of the textbooks which we see in the migration of birds, vertebrates and chordates and vertebrates and dami and dami and Kamanata here. So these are some of the textbooks, very good textbooks to observe. Thank you for listening.